welcome to the Warrant and Finance Committee meeting for February 28, 2022. The first thing on the agenda is to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize for not remembering to take my hat off when I first started that.
Really?
I did remember.
Did you run the lawnmower?
Yeah.
I'm sure it feels like second skin at this point, just always on.
Yeah. First thing I'd like to do is introduce our new member, Philip. Would you like Mike call Phil or Philip?
Phil's fine.
Phil's fine.
Hi there.
And I'd like to go around the table, and I'll start with you, Margarita, and introduce yourself to him. And we'll go around the table so that he knows everybody.
Hello, Margarita Borgel. I live over on West Shore, or we're building new down there. And I've only been less than a month, so I wasn't here for this January 31st meeting, and I was brought on just after that.
Are you an alternate as well, or?
Yes.
Joseph Rumor, I live in Sam Page Road. And Warrant and Finance Committee.
Tucker Pearson.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Tucker Pearson.
Tucker.
Live over on Milton Mills Road. Been on the Warrant and Finance for 3-4 years now, I think.
Oh, wow.
Previously an alternate.
Joyce Bakshi, on West Shore, and it's my first year on Warrant and Finance. I am the secretary under duress, so if I spell your name wrong or you see something like that, just tell me.
Okay.
It's not my real bag, but I do the best I can.
Dennis Long, I'm the chairman. I live on Flat Ground Road.
Leslie Berlan. I live over on Langley Shores. This is my first year on Warrant and Finance, and I'm the vice chair.
Okay.
Ray Lopez, your neighbor. Have a nice time here.
Yeah, right. And Phil Caruso, we have, my wife and I started building the house on Buzzell way back in 2012. Over the years, a little bit at a time, and permanently moved in, it'll be 3 years in April.
Oh, nice.
Right next to Ray, actually, so I've known him a while as a neighbor. And my wife is from Sanford way back when, but we met out west and worked our way back here. There's grandkids and such here, so that's always a magnet, especially for the wife, so.
Of course.
But we're both in heaven here, as it were, outdoors and things.
Phil, just to give you a little feeling of how we operate, whether you're an alternate or not, your voice is welcome, your voice is heard, and as chair, I kind of expect everybody to give their opinions about stuff. I think it's a good time to do it. Even though as an alternate, unless there's a regular member missing, you might be appointed that evening as a voting member. But when we have a full board here, the alternates, the only difference between them and the rest of the committee is they're not voting that night.
Because you need 4 at least for a quorum, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But even if our regular board is 6 members, so even if, say, Ray couldn't make it tonight, you might fill in for him that night, because all we really need for a quorum is 4 members.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to vote when they can, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And like I said, whatever we discuss and you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if you have questions after the meeting, you can email me and I'll get the answers from the appropriate people, and, you know, so you can get your answers before the next meeting,
sounds
whatever
good,
you want to do. So in a nutshell, that's how we operate. And we try to run under Robert's rules to the best of my ability. And so what I ask is when somebody wants to speak, if they'd raise their hand, and I'll call on them. And if for some reason I don't notice that somebody's raised their hand, usually Leslie or Joyce will kick me and get my attention.
That's a secretary's job.
100%.
The thorn between two roses.
We try to keep all our conversations civil, without interruption, and it's really worked very good operating that way. But we're a very friendly committee. So with that being said, I always lose the agenda.
I was right there and I didn't put on it.
That's all right.
Approve the minutes.
The first thing we want to do is approve the minutes from January 31st. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at them. They were pretty simple. That's when we went over the audit. And we forwarded some questions to the Board of Selectmen. It wasn't.
I was here that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was your first meeting, Margarita.
Yes.
Yeah, the one that was back.
I was wondering why my name wasn't on here, because I knew I was here.
I think it was down in, back in, honestly, Margarita, I think it was back in December, the first meeting that you missed.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, I have to add you there, Margarita.
That's all right, so I make sure I wasn't missing anything.
So with that, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of the January 31st, 2022 meeting.
I second it.
Any discussion on them? Seeing none, all in favor? The next,
I do have a question.
go ahead.
Those are a lot of serious questions. Is there like a time frame to get answers back on some of this?
I usually forward the stuff to the town administrator, and they're pretty good at responding. You know, usually it's within the week. You know, if something comes up, like last Thursday, I had sent in some questions for some information, and she only works part of a day on Thursday, and then they close for Friday because of the snow.
Right.
So when she got to work today, she sent me the information. So they're usually pretty good about it. Leslie?
I think part of what Phil's getting at is, have we received the answers for these yet? And I know some were answered at a selectman meeting. I don't think all of them were.
You're right. And we haven't got it, we have not received it in writing.
Okay.
But the town administrator went over the questions during the selectmen's meeting. In my response to the Board of Selectmen over these questions were, a lot of it was just concerns that we found in the audit. And the audit has been done for 8 months. Moving forward, some of these concerns that we picked up on, was hoping that this is what I had said anyway, I was hoping that the board would take some of these concerns when they put out the new contract for the new auditor, so that the mistakes that we might have found, stuff that didn't really make much sense, before we do a new audit, these concerns will be addressed.
Yeah.
And that's what I got from the Board of Selectmen, and myself personally, I was satisfied with that. And so I maybe I spoke out of turn, but I didn't feel that the town administrator had to detail the answers to these questions.
Right.
If you watch that Board of Selectmen meeting, and I'm not pulling it out in my head right now, she was very receptive and said she was glad to see some of these things, and she's very positive about.
The audit's annual, I'm assuming?
Our audit here is annual, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. I mean, there's a few things that were in there that weren't quite right.
Right.
And we started out with a $5 million mistake. But there's concerns in there about our assets that are listed. There was different things, and I think the town administrator addressed them pretty well. And I would encourage you to watch a meeting, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe, when she talked about it.
2 weeks ago, I believe.
And
Yep.
she did a great job explaining it, between her and Michelle. Michelle's the town treasurer. I guess I can talk about this now where you asked this question. I did some research, and one of the questions we had was the town roads being an asset to the town. So I did some research in the Gatsby information, and they are not in our assets in that. So they aren't considered one of the town assets.
Should they be?
Well, that's something that we have to, not we, but there's another thing that I think the Board of Selectmen moving on in the future will address.
Are they considered assets in other surrounding towns, do you know?
Oh, yes.
They are, okay.
Yeah. What they've done, and I don't understand this, I'd have to get somebody a lot smarter than me to explain it to me. But what they've done is, if they did a paving project, and say it was $150,000 on a section of the H Road, for example, they will consider that an asset, the paving project, and then it will be depreciated.
Just on the project?
Just on that paving part, yeah.
They did 20 feet, that's what they would consider the asset?
Exactly. But not the road itself. And like I said, this is something, going down the road that we can get clarification on. But that's what I found in my research, is the assets the town have listed.
So even, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ray.
Even with the fact that they have deeds to the road as far as the town of Acton, that would not be considered an asset?
I would say it would be. And,
Right.
and Dave said at the meeting, of course it is, but it's not listed.
Problem is, like you said, it makes sense if you say you do a $200,000 project and you consider that an asset, but then you have roads that you haven't done any work to for a while, so that don't really make it an asset, and that's those eyes. Or you'd have to come up with some sort of theory of how do you know how much that road is worth? They could turn around and say, okay, well, we get this much taxation off this road, why can't they do that?
Yeah, I got no idea, Dave, how they figure it, but to me, if the town owns it,
It's an asset right now it would be an asset, but with a value of zero unless you can evaluate it.
right?
Gotcha.
And that's for the,
But then we would have a baseline though, right? We would start
Yeah.
there and then over the course of time as they get fixed.
I don't know where what the benefit would be to put a value on each road.
I think that would be answered in the aspect of the borrowing power of the town.
that is the purpose of all,
Right.
the financial thing with all, that's why they started Gatsby. That's why the feds
What is-
made that
what is that you're
mandatory.
mentioning?
Gatsby.
Ask me.
It's I can't remember what each of the letters stand for, but back geez, I don't know.
GASBE.
25, GASBE. The federal government passed a thing that all municipalities have to do a complete inventory of all their assets, so that they all had to do the same thing, and that would affect your borrowing power.
Okay.
And it would be a nationwide thing, so if we wanted to borrow money from a bank in California, it would be the same criteria for everybody.
Okay.
And it does affect, it's supposed to affect your interest rate you pay when you borrow money. I mean, the interest rate's been low for quite a while, so we've been very lucky, you know, paying 2.5%. And I can't imagine it'd be much less than that. But I do remember when we did, maybe it was our last reval, we borrowed the money. It was a big project regardless, and the interest rate we had to pay was the same interest we was getting on our money from the same bank. So it was kind of strange, and that time I think it was like 2%.
The letters simply mean Government Accounting Standard Boards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what it does, though, it is, they use the formula that authorizes accounting of financial reports and ratings of towns.
Yeah.
If somebody's GATSPA is, I don't know what, we have 20 or 30 roads in town, something
Right.
like that. Somebody has 50 or 60, they're gonna have a higher number. Sure. Than, you know, than.
That's what you're, like right now, I think the only thing we really have big out there now is the fire truck. So that's only, that's our only liability of any amount of money. And all of that is figured into however the accounting people do it.
Don't you think there would be some sort of a standardized formula to calculate what the roads, or what any asset would be worth?
Somebody that knows what they're doing, yes,
So do we have a
There would
step to
there would
follow
have
to
to be,
figure out?
these other towns are
are doing it.
valuing them,
Yeah.
so that they must be using some sort of
Yeah.
formula that, and I would hope that it would be standardized.
And like I said, this hopefully will be part of the discussion moving forward when, I know they're talking about changing up the auditing system and stuff like that, and we have no idea how that's gonna go yet, so,
But it's on our radar to figure out
Yeah.
who and where we go to ask about adding these roads as an
Exactly.
asset.
Yeah.
Okay.
and that honestly is, you know, up to the selectmen to do, you know what I mean? Which I'm sure they will.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Rick.
And that would be only for roads that the town has deeds for, not roads that have,
Like camp roads?
Well, what I would say is, the town has a deed to it, say like 7th Street, you know, they have a deed to that road. That would be one thing. If the town has what we call a town road, and there's no deed for it, they just have an easement,
there you go, easement.
again, that's for the lot. Bigger powers to figure out, Ray. I would think you'd have to show ownership, but.
Yeah, because an easement is somebody else's property that they're granting you access to.
Yeah.
So you don't own it.
What's that, Dave?
I would assume it would probably be the list that, you know, we get our LRAP funds from, we have a list of roads that we maintain. We'd think it would probably be that list.
Yeah, it very well could be. as I said,
What they determine whether or not
Yeah.
they get funds.
yeah,
I mean, and there is some value to our town roads, because, I mean, I know I live on a private road, and that affects, mortgages. There's some, banks that require proof that the road is gonna be plowed and maintained.
Maybe even
whichever
insurance,
way.
homeowners insurance and things like that, maybe.
Yeah. Banks too. Some banks won't write a mortgage unless they have that documentation that there's, year-round access to the property.
I
Because
mean, the
they're
roads
afraid
are
of
obviously a
fire.
liability in the sense of the maintenance, upkeep, and
course.
expenses on them, so,
yeah, the liabilities.
you know, that, not having them as an asset on the positive side, accounting-wise, doesn't make sense.
Right.
Obviously, everybody knows that. but-
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna do some, little bit of liaison stuff tonight, and, because we have, not, I don't know if all of us have, but quite a few of us have talked to different departments and kept in talk and contact with them throughout, and stuff that we've picked up at the selectmen's meeting, at the school board meeting. We have some idea what some of these places, these departments are looking for. So I would like, Joyce, you're the liaison to the rec department, and I know they're looking at 3 different things this year.
Right.
Out of their normal operating budget.
The 3 things that they're looking for this year will start from the least to the most. They would like proper bathrooms, not only for the children, but, you know, for the parents. Some sort of permanent
What do they have now?
renter potties. You know, and they're, you know, not the necessary, most convenient. I know I believe that I know they want their parking lot done. I believe that is a project in motion, but they need more money for that. They do have, they have money now, they have approximately $29,000, but they are going to need more. The biggest thing that they need, and I know the selectmen are working on trying to figure out how to make it happen. They need a director for the recreation department. They need a paid position. They need someone in charge. Right now, they have 2 outstanding volunteers, and I do want to say that. These 2 ladies, and one of them is usually not quite around for the winter, and still does a lion's share of the work, you know, via emails and internet. But these 2 women knocking themselves out on this committee. They have other, and I don't think they don't have other volunteers, because they do. They have wonderful volunteers, as, you know, if you look on What's Up in Acton, fellows taking care of the ice skating rink and stuff like that, you know. But they need a director. And it really is in the selectmen's hands, but I believe they're looking, maybe, I'm just gonna ballpark, a position that would pay around $15 for a number of hours, or a stipend. It's all very much in their hands, and it's, you know, it would be a stipend as to how much, you know, this director would be paid. But those are their 3 big needs.
Just a minute, right? One thing I want to explain. Their capital reserve account, in the audit, it said there was 29,000 plus in that, but, looking through things, the town.
David, I think it's that door out there.
It'll stop.
It'll stop.
Okay.
We're waiting for the boom.
Creeping me out.
Looking through the warrant, the town took $5,000 out of that 29,000 to, get some trees cut and start clearing for the parking lot. So, last year, yes, at the end of the year, they had the 29, but we took 5 out of it, so right now it'd be 23 or 24 or whatever. And they would like to take this, capital improvement money they've got it and put it towards, whatever project
Bathroom.
they see fit. But I do know that the fire chief, for several years now, has had a concern up there with the parking, because when they play other towns, for example, there's a lot of people who parked out on 109, and he really wants them to get something done because it's not safe. You know, you got kids that's 4 years old that's getting out of cars and stuff, and people are driving by at 50 miles an hour, and there's no real place to pull off the road.
Right.
So your car's half on the road. Any questions on that? What Joyce was telling me? Yes, Ray?
I believe that on the February 23rd meeting from the Board of Selectmen, they had a discussion for the recreation head to do $13,000 to $15,000 a stipend, like $250 a month.
Yeah.
For whoever the department, the recreation head was. So I think that that's part of the director situation that we're talking about there.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of it.
And I mean, the board just hasn't set it in stone yet, exactly how it's gonna be or what the financial stipend would be. They're working on it. I think they started on it last week, wasn't very long, maybe a couple of weeks.
Skip it.
Joyce, you're also the liaison to capital improvement. Is there anything on that?
Well, we have requested a sum of money to invest in engineers who would answer the questions that we can't answer. Structural, at first we asked for money to cover 4 buildings. That might be reaching a little. So I have had conversation, and we are asking for $6,500 to hire an engineering company to tell us what we need to know, prioritize things. You know, we have a mixture of things here. We have new buildings, we have historic buildings, we have buildings that are 30 years old and 20 years old and 50 years old. It's an awful lot for a volunteer board to, you know, come up with. There are certain things that you see, and you know, yes, you can prioritize them, because examples are some of the things that have been done recently or are in the pipeline. This building now has new windows. It's needed new windows for a long time. The back of this building, the north, that would be the north end of the building, is terrible shape. It needs to be painted and refurbished and, you know, finished. It was never finished when the other 3 sides were done. And, you know, that's an easy fix. We know that. Is it going to be a capital expense? More than likely today, it will be a capital expense. It'll be over $5,000.
Is that the threshold?
Yeah, it is. But the other thing to remember with, and I'll take my hat off in a minute with capital improvement, if we go back to the rec department, one of their dream wishes would be, because we look from today out 10 years, they would like to see money being salted away for a community center for the rec department. You know, that's not, you know, a community center is, you're talking $2 or $3 million, or well, we're not gonna, not now, but if we start putting away as we have for other things, we know we're gonna need new fire trucks. We know we're gonna need more, new things, and we set aside some capital reserve for that. And, they would, I think it's something we would hit next year, talking about setting aside some capital reserve for a rec center, which would be really a community center. But, we're trying to keep it focused, so we are asking for this investment of $6,500 to look at the buildings and give us an idea of what the priorities are or aren't.
And the capital improvement committee is looking at, my memory serves me right, giving a report.
Yep.
The first part of April.
Right.
To the Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
For the Selectmen to look over.
Right. That would be the full report
Yeah.
that we will have. It may or may not have the engineer's report in it, but part of our report will be that we feel it's necessary. We can't give 100%. Yes.
What is the fiscal year in Acton? What is it?
It goes from July 1st
July 1st,
to
yeah.
June 30th.
Pretty typical, yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, I'll take my hat off and go back. No?
Well, you guys all have budget schedules. This is the schedule on this page here, when I passed out tonight. There's a schedule that I come up with when I met with Michelle and Jen. This is for the municipal part, not the school part. Phil, I also gave you a copy for the budget schedule for the school department. And that's different than what we're looking at. I don't have it. I do have it. Well, we all have the timeline, even though I don't have it in front of me, that
You want this?
The school?
Jennifer had sent out.
Got it, okay.
No, not the school one. The timeline that the selectmen had sent out for the warrants and the time frame that we'll have to vote on the warrant articles and when the ordinances are due and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure I put that in your packet.
Yeah, I got it here.
So what this part here is meeting with the 4 major departments in town. And this is a schedule that we come up with a couple of weeks ago, Jennifer and Michelle and myself.
Now, you meet with them, is that just you meet with them, or do
No, we
they
all
come to
do.
the meeting that
Yeah,
we're having?
The way this here works, say if you decided to do this, and it's totally, gonna be totally up to the committee tonight, on March 7th, the rec department would come in and explain to us what they're looking at. Mike Corey would come in for the television station, and Jan and Michelle and the 3 selectmen would come in for the general government, because that's all there. And then, because the general government is obviously a lot bigger than what the rec department would be. So we'd do a couple small departments and then a big department, and do the small departments first, so they don't have to sit here and listen to everything. They'd like to go home. And then you see on March 14th, the transfer station. And I'm not saying it's a small department, but it's nowhere near as big as the road budgets. And then on March 21st, we'd meet with the library, And just so everybody understands, the library does not belong to the town. It's a private organization. It's never belonged to the town. And when we get into the budget, you'll see that what we do with the library is we give it a donation, because it's not a department of the town. So we give them a donation instead of appropriating for that department, because it's not a department of the town. Unlike Shapley, the library does belong to the town. But the library being in this building, we do house the library, and we pay, operating expenses and stuff like that. But and then the fire department, just to back up just a little bit, I'm sorry. One thing with the roads that I picked up at the selectmen's meeting is, and I'm sure this will be some conversation between the Board of Selectmen and the road commissioners, and also with us, I assume. The road department's looking for a $10 an hour increase across the board for the road commissioners and the laborers. So that's gonna be about a 50% increase in wages. So I'm sure there'll be conversations between them and the selectmen, and if the selectmen just choose to leave it that way, there'll be conversations between us and the selectmen and the road commissioners. Then we have the fire department. What I picked up for the fire department is he has a couple of safety things he'd like to buy, like a lift for the ambulance. And there was something else, I don't remember what it was, that he was looking at to above and beyond his normal operating budget. It was a safety thing regardless. And the fire chief is looking at, my understanding, a $5 an hour pay increase across the board. I've done some research on fire departments, and what I found is that what Ricky's asked, the fire chief, Ricky Smith, is asking for is, personally, I find it more than reasonable, because they've been underpaid, and they are underpaid, and if we want to keep these people, we gotta at least meet them halfway. But that's just my personal research, and I'm sure when Ricky comes, he's gonna have all that data to give to us. He's pretty thorough about giving you all the information that all you're ever gonna wanna see. And social services, and you'll see in this packet, that there's a list of social services that have been requested, that they've received requests on. It doesn't mean that the selectmen are going to move forward all these requests. They might and they might not, it depends on, I think last year they cut out a few, and I don't know what their intentions are, because they haven't gotten that far yet. But there is a list of social services in here, because I talked to, when I talked to Jen and Michelle, I said, we have so many new members this year. We have 6 new members. A lot of this on the last page, for lack of better words, I would say that this is old hat for Tucker and I. But with many new members, I would like for you to look down through this, and I don't know if you want to make a decision tonight, if there's any of these social services you want to talk to. Normally, what Jen and Michelle will do is, these services, they send in a packet and it tells everything that they do, so you can read it. I do know that when we used to bring all the social services in, it was a long night.
These are all different places that we give donations to.
We give donation to.
Okay.
A couple of new
And
ones in there,
we
Margarita.
do a lot compared to some other towns. I use Shapley, for example, because they're kind of a similar town. If my memory serves me,
About $6,000.
it ain't much
Watch.
compared to what we do.
600%.
Yeah,
You mean they give
quite a bit.
6,000 total?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been over generous, but we've been...
This is what the,
We're looking at
But
81,000.
look, the bulk of our stuff goes to the library and the Acton Shapley YCC, so.
Put 80,000.
Well, it's not always the big numbers, it's the little
It is a-
nickel and dimes that get you.
I'm just saying that Shapley being the similar town and similar environment, what they donate to is a lot less than what we donate to, is all I'm saying, and,
Is part of Balch Lake in Acton?
oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I always just think of it as Newfield, or West Newfield.
And Newfield actually eliminated last year donations of this kind.
I,
I don't
Same
know.
with, same with Great East.
Huh?
Great East was eliminated also.
It's almost like if one gets it, there are many lake associations. Where do you draw the line?
Exactly, but
Right.
Dennis, I'm trying to remember last year when we removed the Great East Lake and the Balch Lake associations. Was that from a disbursement that we had already given? Is that why we...
removed them.
Correct.
No, the selectmen decided not to put it on the warrant.
So why are they back on again?
I assume because they probably have asked. And like I said, this list here is the stuff that Michelle and Jen have received from people asking.
Requests.
And it doesn't mean that all these are gonna be on the warrant. It's gonna be up to the selectmen what they wanna move forward. But this is what's been requested so far. And the dollar amounts. So, I mean, if you guys wanna look these over, or do you wanna look them over and wanna wait and see what we get for paperwork? Go ahead, Ray.
On the main public broadcast, don't they already get, money from, the bills that people pay for cable?
No,
Or that was taken out?
that's for public television, that's for like PBS,
NPR, PBS, that stuff.
you know what I mean?
What, this here, the main public broadcast, that's for PBS?
Yeah,
All right, so it's not the assessment that anyone who has Atlantic broadband.
no, it's got nothing to do with that, no.
Okay.
No, this is for, when I was a kid, there was like Channel 11, everything that was kid-related, I guess.
Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We watch Sesame Street,
yeah.
and Mr. Rogers, and main
These things
public.
now, most of them are off-air anyway with, you know, the digital, regular antenna, so it's not necessarily on cable only, so there wouldn't be a fee.
No, but what they do every year, and I think last year the selectmen, didn't put that one forward,
Yeah, they were all zero.
because honestly, they're already getting money through the state and federal, and it's just, a lot of these places, chairman of the Warrant and Finance, Tom Chase, used to say that a lot of these donations are just seed money, so that if they can get $1,000 from 10 towns, now we've got $10,000, and they can apply for a grant, for $100,000, and, because they've got this seed money, and you have to have a certain amount of money to get the grant, and it's all a revolving,
Oh, yeah.
to play the game. And I'm not saying that all these are like that, but I'm just saying, quite often. And, I mean, I don't blame anybody for coming to the town and saying, geez,
Why would you not ask?
why wouldn't you, you know what I mean?
Obviously.
If you get it, you're better off.
It's up
If you
to us to
don't,
say no, right?
you have nothing lost anything.
The visiting nurses almost double their request.
I think we then ought to just go through it tonight. It's 6:45, whatever you...
Okay, we're doing good, right?
Before we leave the March 21st,
sorry.
under fire department, is the medical director part of, gonna be part of the fire department?
It would, I assume it would come out of the fire department's budget. It would be part of their budget. When the selectmen finally, I guess you really wouldn't know the dollar amount until the selectmen make an agreement on how it's gonna work, how much money it's gonna be, I guess. But I would assume that where it has to do with the fire department, it would end up as part of their budget. You know, underneath public safety.
And there's another question I have, looking at the wages here on the road commissioner, do we know what the state workers make in comparison to?
We can get that information.
$30 an hour, just a little bit there.
The supervisors? Yeah. I mean, we can get that.
That's the
Does
same.
David knows, you know, all you can do is just print it off and the state has all that.
So then he's asking for...
They had a conversation, I think it was the last selectmen's meeting.
So then he's there,
They were talking about, because the rates were changed, what, 2 years ago, David? 3 years ago? 2 years ago? And, David had mentioned, over in Shapley, for example, they do, state rates plus 15%, which is a standard that a lot of small towns use for many, many years. And I think, and I'm not positive, when you redid the rates a couple of years ago, wasn't a lot of that based on that, David?
Yeah, so when the road commissioners brought in their budgets, what we've done is we looked through the state rates to see if they were comparable.
Yeah.
Make sure that they weren't out of whack, you know, not say keep them honest, but to make sure that we were all on the same page.
Right.
And we intend to do that this year too.
Yeah. So some of that information, you know, would be nailed down after the selectmen make a decision on what they're gonna do. So you wanna go through these social services now? And just, you know, see, like I said, they give you, everybody will give you a packet.
well, that's something that'll go through the selectmen, right? And they'll make the decision of
what moves forward, yeah.
Okay, so,
My advice to the committee would be probably to wait for us to go through which ones we're gonna.
That's what I was
put forward,
thinking.
So you don't waste your time.
Right.
There may be some in here that we might be trying to wait, not saying we will, but.
Right.
That makes sense, though. Look, why look at it now if we don't know what the final
right.
thing is?
Well, the reason why I had this is because, I wanted everybody to see what the social services were requesting. So if you had questions, because, what I was gonna do was, and I'm fine with waiting, but I was gonna let, Jennifer know if there was any in particular that we might wanna talk to. But, if you wanna wait, that's fine too.
Yeah, I have a question for Dave, if I could.
It might be a good idea that, I mean, I don't see the list, you gotta go through each page, but, I mean, if you guys could go through and find something that might stick out to you guys might question.
That's what I thought.
If you do that, then we can also look at it, and if we feel it, then we can yard it if we feel that.
Sure.
Can I ask Dave a question? Dave, when you look at these requests, do you consider the fact that some of them may be billing their clients under their insurance? Because if they're looking for money from us, but they're also billing.
I believe we took off some last year.
Yeah, you did.
Can you
Because
give
that
me
would make a difference on how
Look
I
at
personally would view
Life
something
Flight.
where if they're,
Typically nonprofit.
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
Nonprofit, or anything
And they're
like
billing
that.
insurance?
They bill
Okay.
insurance.
Okay.
That's Susan me and
And-
Yeah.
And we've also,
Yeah.
sometimes
How about that?
we've also amended them, dropped them down
Yeah.
because of, you know, some people that question is, well, the percentage of your donation is only, 12% or whatever out of
Right.
100%. It's kind of like, not worth donating to at that point, so.
Right.
But,
I mean, Life Flight's a perfect example. And I'm not saying we don't need Life Flight, but if you use Life Flight, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. You know?
they bill the people.
And
they
then
bill
they
insurance.
bill
My neighbor-
insurance, yeah.
Well, not just insurance, if the insurance doesn't pay it, then you gotta
My
pay
neighbor paid it.
a lot of money.
They-
So that's just some things that the selectmen look at and we need to look at and see what we want to do with it.
Well, I guess my question would be can you give us a better look at what the Acton Shapley Youth Conservation Corp does and how many of the youths of Acton participate?
Is
Yeah,
that the one that
they'll
does all the
they'll give you all that, right.
watershed management?
No, I do everything.
Yeah,
But they're the ones that like run like, on West Shore, the boat launch, right? They're the ones that what group is that?
AWA?
It is with AY, but,
Wakefield
AWA
Watershed.
does it on Great East. I don't believe AWA does it on,
Balch, no. Or Square,
or on Square.
no.
one of my neighbors had a real erosion problem straight down the driveway. They had AY there,
When you say AY, you mean Acton Shapley Youth
Acting Shapley Youth.
Conservative Corps? Okay.
That's what they had.
That's two different.
no, it wasn't.
A was Acton Wakefield.
Acting,
Wakefield Watershed Alliance.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's below it.
but the youth conservation is what I'm talking about.
right, that's what I was asking about.
Okay. The neighbors, citizens paid for all the material. The group came in, the youth group came in with a supervisor and did all of the work.
Yes. That's the
Okay.
group that, Scott and Debbie Lansbury help run, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So they do a lot of work,
They do a lot of
a ton
work.
of work.
And AWA does very similar. over
Similar
on the-
thing, okay.
over- Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these amounts, dollar amounts for Acton Shapley and Acton Wakefield, have been the same for over 10 years, the money they've asked for.
That this year.
But yes, Ray, send me that and question and I'll make sure, that we have that information. Because they do lay it all out, but I don't remember if they lay it all out in the packet they send out, or if there's other stuff you might want that's beyond the packet, you know?
One of the ones that I would ask, because I know we've personally used the services of Cornerstone visiting nurses for my husband. But that was all paid by my insurance. And that's Medicare and a supplemental insurance. And I do not believe they are a nonprofit.
That question came up last year also.
Did it? Yeah.
And they're asking for almost double this year.
And they're asking for almost double this year, yeah. And I mean, you know, God help people that need it and don't have insurance or whatever. But I believe there are places out there that one can turn to in a situation like that and get the help they need.
It used to be,
So saying maybe our donations will be better placed elsewhere.
yeah, but last year I was thinking that we started out with two visiting nurse,
Oh, I gotcha.
people, and there was something with one of them, and so the selectmen, cut that one out. There was something to do with the services or something, and again, it was a financial thing. And so they cut that last year out of the donations.
I have one other question.
Yes.
Saco River Corridor.
Yeah.
Somebody tell me what it does for, this sounds terrible, but for Acton. What is Saco?
It's a kind of a watchdog
That's all it is.
conservation place. It's
For the
located
Saco
in,
River.
I think Cornish.
For the
And-
Saco
and
River.
if they have paid employees there.
It's more than the Saco River, it deals with all the things that contribute to the Saco River.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Mulch dam.
So the tributaries and
Yeah.
everything?
Anything
And the
that feeds into
tributaries
it,
of the
okay.
Okay.
Falls Lake, and
Yeah.
so like, it's pretty comprehensive. And, if you go over there, they can focus in on not only the Saco River, which is enormous in Maine,
Yeah, I know.
but it's all the little guys that can feed it.
Okay.
And Acton's Falls Lake contributes, that little Ossipee goes eventually. Everything
Yeah,
goes down
and that
way.
little-
So
that
it's-
little dam and
It's a
everything.
little bit of money, to get access to a lot of information if you needed it.
Yeah.
And they used to have a director, a lady that overseed that. She's quite, what people could do and what couldn't do. Like, but nevertheless, it's money well spent.
Off of there.
You know, and some of the stuff is just name, committees and names, and whatever, and
Right.
it's a bunch of names, but these people here, they're down to earth and they get the information.
You see, last year, with these Great East Lake Association and Balch Lake Improvement Association, I remember when Tom Gore was on, one of his concerns he had, his biggest concern with these lake associations, is the amount of money they actually have in their association. And some of these lake associations have a huge amount of money. And, because obviously everybody that's on the lakes pays dues. And, so he was always, if you got $80,000 in your lake association, why are we giving you more money?
Good question.
And, but I know last year the selectmen cut it out. I can't remember really why, but, do you remember, Dave?
I do.
I think I remember as well.
I don't remember.
One of the biggest ones was the, Gila.
Yeah.
Great East Lake,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Gila, I'm sorry.
No, that was, we knew.
I haven't eaten yet. So, the problem we had with that is we were looking at all the donations and we saw that one come up and we were like, well, there was lawsuits going back and forth.
Right.
And we felt that we were donating to somebody who was suing us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
Interesting.
Very
Yeah.
productive
Oh, yeah.
on the,
No.
that aspect of it.
Wow.
Then we started looking at the aspect, like you were saying, when some of these, lake associations, the amount of money is humongous. And we're giving it in other ways, you know, between Article 43s and stuff
Yeah.
like that. There's other avenues that we're giving monies to these roads.
In the youth corps.
You have the youth corps, you have AWA, so it felt to us like we were giving, and then giving some more. So we felt, because of the Gila, the Great East Lake Association deal, that we felt that cutting out the lake associations in general would just be good practice.
Yeah.
I did notice it wasn't a, sort of an across-the-board thing.
Yeah, that's why we did that. And we
Did it
didn't
that
want-
way?
You know,
That was the best way.
the problem is we'll just use the Great East Lake Association, for instance, okay, they were doing what they were doing, which I'm sure was a good cause and all that, but we just didn't feel that we should be financing that.
Right.
But we didn't want to turn around and have, say, Bulch Lake or any other lake do the same thing to us.
Right.
So we just did it across the board to be fair.
I would rather, myself personally, I would much rather see, to benefit the lakes, I'd much rather see, take that money and increase the appropriation for the youth corps and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
You know what I mean?
have a better direction of where your money's going.
Yeah.
You know,
Because they service multiple lakes.
Right.
Well, that, you know they're gonna service most, so they're gonna do everything, but you haven't, when you give it to a big group like that, and you never know where the money's gonna go.
Exactly.
You know, they're not giving us a distinction of where the money's gonna be spent, where you have a pretty good idea where they will,
Yeah.
and with the York County community, you know,
Yeah.
they're gonna go do rip wrap, and they're gonna spread it around, and,
Benefits everybody. Benefits
Yeah,
everybody.
much,
I have a question, Dennis.
excellent,
So,
excellent way.
as we can see here, it says that we removed it for last year for Great East Lake and Bulch Lake, and then there's a request over here. That request is coming directly from them.
Yes.
They've said, hey, we want a donation again.
Yeah, these are all requests that Michelle and Jennifer have received for this year.
Do we take into consideration the improvements or the maintenance of the Balch Lake Dam that we have every year? We have a bill for maintenance. Is that
Yeah,
part of the-
because we own part of that, we own part of that dam, so it's two things. It's maintenance and operation.
But are we not improving Balch Lake at the same time also?
Are we improving Balch Lake?
At the same time? But,
No, that's separate, Joe.
well, maintaining the dam, I mean, it's,
Well, the dam, yes, but we have to maintain it because we own half of it. We share the cost of operating that with Newfield. So the dam operators, I don't know what it is now, we used to get $500 a year or something, it wasn't much. And then whatever maintenance you had to do, and that was, again, I don't think we spent $1,000 a year for years and years and years.
I think most of the maintenance is mowing around it. and
All of it.
$500 is pretty much going to lower the dam, raise the dam, whatever need be.
Yeah, it's just short money.
Do we know what, say, Newfield would be giving them?
They give them equal.
Equal to what we do?
Yep, for the Balch Dam, yeah. 'cause
Well, for the
they-
dam, but say to the Lake Association.
Oh, I don't know what they do, I don't know. I read Shapley's warrant, for this year, and just read it yesterday, I think. And I don't believe they give any to the lake associations, they just give them to the youth groups and, things like that.
Very frugal with their donations.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
makes more sense to give to the youth groups.
Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather see that, because I think the town benefits a lot more by it,
Definitely.
you know?
Yeah, because what do the lake associations do with their money? I mean, they take
That's
care of their
something.
roads around their lake and,
No,
No,
No, not the roads.
No.
I'm talking theoretically.
no,
You know,
they don't do
like,
any of
they
that at all.
plow.
I've belonged to Julia for years because I live on Great East Lake and I don't know what they do.
Okay, it's,
And I pay
That's
dues-
what I was hoping
I pay
somebody
dues-
would
Yeah, I
say,
pay
yeah.
dues every year and I don't know what they
Snail
do with the
diving
money.
team and things
yeah,
like
so
that.
donating
A lot of
seems kind
conservation
of
on ours.
Conservation, yes.
fruitless, especially for everybody in Acton as opposed to just,
Yeah,
No, I
I mean,
mean, and I know that AWA has actually come to my property to help with an erosion problem that we had. I mean, they told us what needed to be done.
And they've done a lot of great
Told us what to
work.
get, and then they brought the kids in and took care of it. And the same way they've been on numerous properties on the road that I live on, you know,
right, so making a donation from the town to, let's say, Great East Lake Association, be kind of hard to say that benefits
the town.
anybody?
yeah, like I said, I don't know what they do with that money.
The town, yeah.
And I know that almost everyone around the lake belongs.
The reason, the reason,
Have to.
No, you don't have
But
to.
almost everyone does. I mean, it's like
There are some
20
like
bucks a year.
associations you have
But
to.
still, when you have all of those
Square, you
properties.
don't have to.
Paying $20.
It's a chunk of change.
the reason I
I've been there 23 years.
support.
Don't pay their dues.
Hold on, guys. The reason why I support, another reason is not only because of the lake quality, but these youth programs give these kids an opportunity to go out and learn and make a little bit of money in the summer and hopefully follow through later in life with what they learn. And it's just a win-win for the town of Acton.
Yeah.
And like I said, if they, I can't say this, so I'm not gonna say it, but this is short money for what we're getting out of it, I believe.
I agree. Plus, if they have a public boat launch, it's available for the town to use, people in the town who don't live on the lake.
Yeah, they used to do boat inspections down in Mousom, I believe. But it ended up that certain people weren't that good, the way they didn't treat the kids that well. And so it ended up, they ended up having to hire some adults to do it.
We have the kids do it on.
We have adults as well.
And adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
But it
adults.
started out, it was just the youth group that was doing it.
Well,
and-
when you've got a youngster telling you, you can't put your $35,000 boat in because they found a little bit of green this big on it. Some people take umbrage on that and, you know.
But it's still a great
You're a
thing.
16-year-old girl.
Right.
So now they have adults help.
It's still a great thing that they do.
It is.
I mean,
Well, we don't want milfoil, right?
We don't want the bald slate.
Right.
I have a question. Brought up Mousom Watershed Dam Coalition. I see that on, I believe this was 2020. Sanford's share for that coalition was $17,725. Shapley's and Acton's share was $8,862.50.
Right. The way that's set up, Ray, is Sanford owns Mousom, the dam down there we're referring to. Sanford owns it. And many years ago, well, it's happened a couple times now, but the town of Acton, let's say 10, 12 years ago in the town of Shapley, one of the concerns were that we were paying for a dam, which we did before, to fix it, maybe 10 years before that, I don't know now, but, and these towns had no say in anything. So example would be if Sanford needed water down there for their reservoir or something like that, they would draw the dam down enough to make sure they had all the water they needed. And the people at Square Pond, their water would go down 4 feet because Sanford needed the water. Because this town of Sanford owns the Mousom Dam and the Square Pond Dam. And so there was concern. So the other two towns met with Sanford and they come up to an agreement that Acton would pay 25% and Shapley would pay 25% of the dam repair and maintenance, and Sanford would pay 50%. But what it did was, when the coalition they're talking about, it gave our towns a voice, which they never had before. And it works out pretty good. I mean, we did some big project there a couple of years ago. And I've got no issue with us sharing in the cost of the dam for the benefit that we get out of it, of maintaining the dam itself. What I have issue with is us paying our share of maintaining the grounds. okay? The grounds belong belongs to Sanford. That's where they mow the grass and they do this and then do that. And Shapley, it's in Shapley. Shapley gets $2,000 or $3,000 a year taxes from Sanford on that property. So if we're paying, I'm gonna say $3,000, and this number isn't right, but using that as an example, if this is our share of the maintenance of the grounds, Shapley's getting their money back in taxes.
Tax credit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Acton, to me anyway, is sharing more than the burden, of the burden. And how maintaining the grounds got involved in this, I have no idea. I know it wasn't the original agreement, but then, I don't remember when it was, all of a sudden we're maintaining the grounds too. And it doesn't make any sense to me. Go ahead, Dave.
So I believe the original agreement that we had was originally just to come up with the money, put money in that quarter. The amount we were putting out was to come up with the amount of money to fix the bridge in the first place.
Right.
The last couple of years, that after we fixed it, which was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
It was 2 years ago. That kind of got slid in there. And as a select board member and before that, I kind of disagreed with the whole thing in general. Because, like you said, gave us a voice, but at the end of the day, we don't have a voice. Because they just put this multi-million-dollar sewage plant down at the end of the river, which at the end of the day, if that sewage plant needs to run, they're gonna drain every bit of water out of that lake because that's priority.
Yep.
So, but in good faith, this is what we've been doing, but this is obviously something that we'll have to look into.
Yeah.
I think it's something we've overlooked because we've been just paying it. This was a deal, putting the money away for a big project. Well, the big project's over.
Right.
And so maybe something we have to look into.
Yeah, something, like I say, it's something to stop them, obviously. But it's like Dave said, and it's like I said, this maintenance of the grounds and stuff just appeared. And I think when it first got there, I don't think anybody really picked up on it.
Well, the thing is too also is, we're not getting an itemized thing from the city of Sanford of why it costs that much.
Right.
It would be different if, say, the city of Sanford had a landscape company come in and they gave us, had a price, a set price, and we knew what we were paying. I think what they're doing, and this is just me thinking out loud, usually gets me in trouble, but I'm sure what they're doing is they're taking their Parks and Rec or whoever's taking care of, which it's probably Parks and Rec, I'm sure it's doing that. And they're just kind of coming up with a rough number, because I'm sure they're not saying, okay, we're gonna spend this much on that.
Yeah.
So they have to have some sort of number to go by. In the future, it would be great if they want us to pay for part of that, which the part of it, I do understand, because you gotta cut the bushes so the roots don't get into the dam and all that. But it'd be nice to have an idea of what we're paying for.
Right.
And like I said, my thought is it's Sanford property, and I don't think we should be paying, to maintain Sanford property. I mean, I never agreed with this, kind of like Dave. I never thought personally that we should be paying for the dam, but the town decided that's what they wanted to do, and it is what it is, but I think it should stop at that $5,000 a year if we're still gonna put money towards the new dam in another 10 years or whatever. I'm willing to go along with that.
But so, as I look back on it, I'm a big fan of, okay, when you come up with the number that you need from us, you come to us, whether or not we have the money in our designated fund or we take a loan. I prefer doing that than stockpiling money like we had been doing.
Yeah.
Then get to the point where, I think last time we overpaid.
Right.
We had to get money back.
Yeah.
And it was whatever, next time, when we have a project like that, that's the way I would prefer going by it, instead of guesstimate.
And that was a nightmare, trying to get those finances straightened out with the town of Sanford, city of Sanford now. Fact is, I think, ended up going to their town council meeting.
Yeah.
And get on the agenda to try to get this money straightened out, because they had overcharged us. It took months.
Yeah, we get the money back.
We got it back, but it took a long time. I felt kind of bad for Jen. She was trying to get information from them, and they just didn't even respond to us because of the time. So I myself personally, I got a little bit of sour grapes towards that little deal, just for many years of involvement. But again, this is all up to the selectmen.
Can I ask one more question?
Go ahead,
about
yes.
some of these? Just because an amount is asked for, can we recommend, okay, that's a viable thing, we would like to support it, but this much money?
Oh, yes. They've done that before, the Warrant and
No,
Finance.
Across last year, I think
Yeah.
across last year, they talked 500 off the 1,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Depended that at town meeting.
And then one year, the Warrant and Finance Committee made recommendations. I think they cut them all by 50%.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Just to be sure, because,
Well, at the end of the day, when you're looking at the budget, I can't remember it's like $60,000, something like that.
81.
81?
81, okay, I have it right in front of me. But when you're in a year where you've got to worry about cutting taxes, raising taxes and that, you start to chisel down some of the donation a little bit.
yeah,
I mean, it's an $11,000 increase in donation requests. That's quite a bit.
that's very big.
So there's nothing really that stands out at anybody, and if there is, you let me know, and I'll talk it over with Jen and Michelle, and we'll get whatever information you want.
If you guys come up with some ones you got issues with, I'd suggest you get them to Dennis as soon as you can to get it to
Yep.
us. So what we propose, we'll be working on this right off.
Yeah, they're gonna be, Wednesday, I think, right?
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Well, tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, we're gonna meet with the department heads. We'll do all that. I don't know what the patient's tomorrow, but,
Yeah.
we're gonna be meeting with the department heads tomorrow.
I know Jen sent out an email saying that she wasn't sure what was gonna get nailed down, but hopefully, at your meeting on Wednesday, a lot of this stuff will get, you guys will decide.
Got a lot to work through tomorrow, because I
Yeah.
got some suggestions on wages and this and that.
Right.
I'll put forward, and, we'll have some flies, I don't know, but, we're gonna try.
And that puts me back to, our proposed schedule. I'm thinking myself, because in a perfect world, if the selectmen Wednesday night said, this is what we're doing, okay? Great, it's all done. This is what we're moving forward. If we have a meeting on Monday, it means that Michelle will be in Friday. And I'm sure she has other things to do than deal with just the Warrant and Finance Committee. It'd be pretty hard pressed for her to get all this information together and forward for Monday night. And my thought is, just from my experience, that whatever they get done Wednesday night, myself personally, especially with, and I sent this out in an email that everybody saw, with all the new members on the board, there's an awful lot to take in and understand. Because what this board does, opposed to any other board in town, this town's spending $7-8 million and between the school and the municipality, and you have to, well, you should anyway, understand everybody's budget. And that's all their budgets, you know what I mean? And it's quite a few budgets to study up on. And so what I'm thinking is that we would not have our meeting on the 7th, and that would give Michelle a little more flexibility when to get this paperwork done, whatever the selectmen decide to move forward at this time. And we can then, I'll talk to Dave about this, we could just move everything down a week. We could use the same order, but just move them down a week, or we could wait until the municipal government, the first week in April.
I have no issue with that. I haven't got the schedule in front of me, but I mean, it sounds, as long as we make that deadline.
Yeah, our deadline is, was it somewhere around the middle of April or something like that? What do you think? What does everybody think?
I mean, the thing is, like tomorrow, we're doing our meeting tomorrow, I believe Kim's gonna be gone Wednesday. So, we're gonna have to hash it all out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And of course, Tom is in Florida.
Right.
So they'll all be conference calls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking through the budgets, and I see a lot of it pretty self-explanatory, the donation stuff, you know, that's something there that, you know, we're gonna have to look through. A lot of that's pretty self-explanatory, but,
It's hard when you haven't looked at the budgets before, and you know, it's easier for somebody like you or me, because we've been doing it for so long, but somebody that's never been part of that process, it's pretty overwhelming.
the, general governments, you know, like the ladies and all that, you know, that's all stuff that's pretty dry.
Yeah.
You know, Michelle does a really good job of laying it all out.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything expected for you. You know, the road department, you know, we've got a little bit of,
Conversation we're gonna have there.
conversation with them, you know, and I believe I have a good solution to some of it. I will propose that to them tomorrow when I meet with them.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do, what we're gonna try to do tomorrow is, we're looking at this budget, and we're just trying to make sure that we're fair. And, you know, we wanna just keep our tax rate the same. If we have to use, we're gonna have a lot of money left over, I believe, from our revenues. And it's something that we're gonna be able to put back towards offset, you know, get everybody to a certain point. But what I do as a select board member, when I look at the budget, is I look at the future. So, you know, say we're giving raises and this and that now, is what's gonna affect us in 3 years because we're getting money from this and this and that. Is it really gonna hurt us in the long run? You know, so that's the tough part that we're at, is, you know, we're trying to look forward, but, you know, inflation and everything right now is really something that nobody can predict. So we're trying to be proactive. So it's gonna be interesting.
Especially the other night on the news, they were saying, depending on what this stuff does over in Ukraine and stuff, the gas prices could very well hit $10 a gallon for the end of the year. It depends on what direction this goes over there.
Well, and you know, you bring up that point, and I was looking through, let's see here, why don't you guys look at the road budget, where are we not finding this here?
Well, I know Adam has spoke to me about the fuel, and I said, well, that's a nice thing. You got a fuel allowance clause in your,
Yeah, that's what I'm going to.
so,
So,
that protects the road commissioners, honestly.
so this was put in back, let's see,
2007?
10-ish, 11 maybe. It was-
Before that,
7 and 11.
before that.
Sorry.
Well, it was gone for a little bit, we put it back in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And, so, but I think it was 2000, I want to say 11, 12, that, I was paying $4.30 a gallon for diesel
Right.
fuel. And I kind of got a giggle because we were making half the rate.
right, I noticed
We're
that,
paying $4.30 a gallon.
Right.
noticed that.
yeah.
But if you look at this, okay, the above rates are based on fuel prices up to and include $4.30 per gallon. The town of Acton will pay an additional $1 per hour for each 25-cent increase. So, you know, when I went to $4.30 a gallon, I got $1 an hour raise on my rate.
Right.
I was like, wow, I didn't even put in for it.
Right.
Because it was gonna take me so much time to go through trying to figure out each one, it wasn't even worth it. It was almost a slap in the face.
Yeah.
You know, so a $25 increase, what's that, for each 25-cent increase, you know, $1 an hour, that's.
For every 25 cents.
For every
yeah.
25 cents.
That's not, I don't believe, because they haven't got to that point yet, ever. I did.
Right,
And myself, I was the road commissioners, and we could still ask them and suggest they do this, that, and I don't want them to spend any more money if possible, but we also don't want it at $10 a gallon and then only get $3 out of it, something like that.
Right.
That doesn't cover the cost of fuel.
right.
The ratio doesn't work.
It doesn't work, David, I've said that for a long time.
So, so that might be something that I think probably ought to be adjusted,
Yeah,
especially in the times we're in right now.
but it's, again, that's something you guys will be looking at, and,
I'm just throwing out there that I think this is something we're probably gonna be looking at.
yeah.
Something I'm gonna be looking at.
And so that being said, they're looking at all the municipal budget, and, which means all the departments, and, in a sense, it's kind of a blessing for them, I guess, that they don't have to do all the research on the school department budget too.
Speaking of the school department, I was going to ask you, the way we are getting the school department
Yeah,
work, a bite at a time,
yeah,
what if we were to take the town budget a bite at a time, rather than waiting?
well, that's
The whole
what,
thing.
that's what, with
Will
this.
that
with-
happen if we wait
with-
1 week?
With this schedule, the only stuff that Michelle would really have to have ready is, and I'm trying to make it a little easier on her too, you know?
Right.
Is whatever, like, the March 7th thing would be the rec department and the cable and the general government.
Right.
She wouldn't have to have the roads and all
No,
that stuff.
it's just that.
Hold on, here's the
We'll
budget
have a pretty good
timeline.
grasp on a few of those tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
Maybe we'll have that conversation Wednesday at the meeting, and if it would be easier, just give us that, you know, so we got a week to look at the stuff, you know what I mean?
yeah.
so we have, I don't know, I'm getting all my dates messed up here. We're missing one meeting here,
That's right.
so I think that's this Wednesday.
No,
No.
this Wednesday you got one.
You got one. Is
Kim's,
it-
Kim's gonna be here, but this one's the next one.
yeah,
Right.
she's
The
living
ninth,
Thursday.
the ninth, yeah.
Trying to figure out what day it is.
So, I mean,
But
we.
you haven't had dinner yet, so
we
what day
could-
is it?
We could have that conversation at the Wednesday meeting. And it'll make it a little easier, I think, for Jennifer and Michelle because that's how the school does it. David, we had a budget meeting with them, and what they did was the maintenance department and,
Pass that down.
the teachers and stuff like that, and that's all they did. And then at the next meeting, they're gonna do whatever. And the one thing to take in consideration, then we're gonna move on to the school. There's three things that, right, three things I believe that the school's looking at that would be an increase in their costs. One is a new boiler system. they replaced one of the boilers, and obviously if that one was worn out, the other one's not far behind.
Is this something they're talking about budgeting for this year?
Yeah, and that's, between everything on that, I think
71,000.
71,000.
But this year would be the year to put it through.
Yeah, and, I mean, the insurance is kind of like, what, I mean, the insurance company said, you're not using that boiler anymore. And that's why they had to replace it, you know, when the insurance company came in. They're looking at a new steam cleaner for the carpets, which is around $6,500. And the very interesting thing is, and we're all paying for it, anybody that's looked at their light bills, since the beginning of the year, the state got some information, Kim Oliver got some information from the state, and they were looking at, was it a 43 or 46% increase in electricity costs for next year?
43%.
Then they put on all those LEDs on there, huh?
Well, the thing is, their light bill, what it's been for quite a while, is around $30,000, and next year they're budgeting 45. And so, you're right, it's a good thing, but
Yeah, it's like that.
and we're gonna, what I'm saying is the town, who I assume would be in the same boat. I mean, they did buy, into the solar company that's up here. They bought some panels, it's up north somewhere, around Gray or something.
Yeah.
And they'll get a 15% discount on their electricity. But they signed a 20-year contract with them, but that doesn't start yet. And they're not even sure quite yet when it's gonna start, so,
Sounds like we're having put some solar panels on that little ball field, huh?
you're down tooting, or at least on the roof.
Because they gotta get a minimum of 400 people or whatever it is to subscribe even to a smaller farm,
Yeah,
which you're giving them the capital to even do it. So yeah, there's quite a lag.
but the solar people came and they approached the school committee about buying some power from them.
Yeah.
That was this fall, right?
Yeah, this past
And,
fall.
so it was quite a bit of conversation about it.
Yeah,
And, so they did decide to take advantage of it.
that's the odd thing from educated people, that they would get into a 20-year contract when the actual life expectancy of solar panels is 12 to 15.
That's why they bought the panels up north, right, and not here.
Right.
I don't know, right? It's all above my pay grade. I guess my point is, electricity is going up an awful lot, and the school's trying to do what they can do to,
Bills go up a lot. I mean, right now, if the price of heat and fuel goes up like they're saying everything else is gonna,
holy moly.
you know, they're heating double.
Easy.
You think about it, because I mean, we were paying, I think, I forget what the contract we had with the fuel company was, but it was a 2 something a gallon.
Yeah,
4 or 5 next year.
yeah, very well could be.
What, oil?
Yeah, they
Oh, yeah.
use a lot of oil down there.
Down the school? Yeah, they probably use, I don't know, 25,000 gallons. That's why I said when we was talking about the boilers down there, if you put it in perspective, those boilers have been there over 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
Burning 25,000 gallons of oil a year. That's a lot of run time, I don't care. So they definitely, and the good thing, what they bought, was another quality boiler. They bought the same thing that was there, H.B. Smith, and they're the Cadillac of the boilers as far as, life expectancy and stuff.
Probably more efficient than the 30-year-old one was.
Yeah, oh, yes. No, it'll be more efficient. I don't know
That's almost
how much oil they'll really save, because you're still gonna have the same amount of BTUs to, put out there, but again, that's above my pay grade, so,
I'm gonna circle you around back to your
ahead.
question.
I had a question?
Do we want to skip the May 7th, the March 7th meeting? Remember, there won't be a selectmen's meeting on the 9th.
Right.
Okay? So the next one would be on the 14th.
You know,
Is-
I would think
See what Leslie said?
I would think, in fairness to, David and Jennifer, Michelle, myself personally, I'd like to put it off because it's just gonna be David.
You
And,
don't want Dave running the show.
no, you know what I'm saying, I
I
mean,
know what you're saying.
I think it'd be beneficial to put it off. Go ahead, Leslie.
Okay. I've got the schedule for the budget.
Yep.
All right, so the warrant is supposed to be delivered to us on March 11th. With the vacations, is that doable?
Not sure.
Well,
I
she's
doubt
on the 9th, so we would have to, no, I wouldn't, I can't imagine it, because we would be meeting with department heads tomorrow, hopefully, come up with something, and then Wednesday night, if we have to work on it. We'd have to approve it Wednesday night.
Yeah.
She's not gonna be there on the
On the
9th.
following, yeah.
So, it doesn't realistically, I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, but I honestly don't think it's,
I don't either,
I've got a
Dave.
couple changes to it that I like to
Yeah,
propose.
I don't think it's gonna, I
All right.
don't. And again.
No, I
and
mean,
again,
I know that this is subject to change.
Oh, yeah, just proposed schedule.
But in looking at adjusting our schedule, we should look at this too, to see when we can expect the warrant articles to come in.
Well, I guess my point is, we will have them, but what my main concern is the date that we need them to give back to the town, and that's,
I don't have the schedule in front of me, I'm just trying to, I like to, what would be nice, and I don't know if we've got enough time to do this, but, you know, Tom is out of town. And it would be really nice if we were able to get him involved in
right.
this part of the warrant.
That's what I'm saying, Dave, maybe we ought to take, especially, the general government one, where he's definitely part of the budget. That's why I'm thinking, that I would like to move that to, the April, whatever that date would be,
April 4th,
April 4th,
yeah.
and,
Back by then.
yeah. And
All right,
so Dave's fine with that.
okay, so we drop the March 7th meeting, we go to April 4th and do the rec department and general government on April 4th.
Move that one.
Right?
We're just shifting
And
that.
keep
Or we
everything
can
else-
just move them down one. No, we can't, because we just said April 3rd or 4th or whatever, for general government. Yeah, we'll just do the
Yeah,
general
so
government in
just move
April.
that- Just move the 7th down to the 4th,
Yeah,
and according to our budget timeline, our final recommendations are due April 27th.
oh, yeah.
Okay, so
So that gives everybody, yeah. And I think that'll be easier for everybody, don't you, Dave?
Yeah, it definitely gives a little cushion.
Yeah,
Breathing room.
Point of order,
yes, sir.
I believe that you would have to take a motion to make this move out.
Yeah.
And have a vote on that.
Yep. And that's what we're gonna do tonight, because the town administrator asked me, whatever we decided tonight, if I would let her know as soon as possible. And I said I would let her know tomorrow. So do I have a motion on, eliminating the March 7th meeting and changing those, departments to April 4th?
I'd like to make a motion that we reschedule our March 7th meeting to April 4th for discussion of the rec department, the cable, and general government.
A
Second.
second?
Any discussion?
No, Dennis.
Just keep it going,
No,
Dennis.
no, Dennis has already discussed.
You talked enough tonight, you know?
That's it, Dennis.
Everybody's tired of his
Dennis,
discussion.
boom.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Phil, you need to know, and I've told the other committee members this, I do have a tendency to talk, and the more you're around, the more you see that. Always feel free to say Dennis.
Very well clarified why we should move March 7th, so.
Okay?
Paper airplane.
No problem voting yes.
I really welcome anybody saying, we've heard enough, Dennis, let's move on.
There's one other question. What is your pay grade?
My pay grade, it's very low, Joe, very low,
Volunteer. It's been going on for all
Great
this year.
question.
very low.
The clock's been ticking.
Again, anybody that has any questions, please email me and I'll, or call me. Well, no, we gotta do emails because we have to have a record of whatever we're asking for. So,
So when we send
As
an
soon
email,
as we have, we missed one other thing on the,
Agenda?
I believe we did,
what did we miss?
I think, fine.
A what?
Freedom of information.
Oh, goodness. I guess, I've spoken to Jen, and she was gonna, and I'm sure she just got, sidelined. She was gonna put those packets in a box tonight, because Ray and Phil and Margarita have to read that and sign off on it. We'll have it for our next meeting.
Is it a class or just a paper?
No, it's like 3 or 4 pages or something. It isn't a lot. And it's something the state decided that all of us have to do.
Your minutes.
I make a motion that we table the FOI.
Yeah.
In other words, they don't.
Yeah, there's some, the state passed a law saying we gotta do it. Normally, it was just, the town administrator that dealt with all that, but, we still have to have the training or whatever.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to table the FOI. I don't think it's necessary, so, and I don't hear a second, so I would just say that the word has been given out to the 3 of you to do it. You all have to see Jennifer if you don't
Yeah, you
get
can
the
stop in and
packets.
get it from
Just
her.
stop in and see
You know,
Jennifer.
if you
and get it done.
Get it by.
I see you
And it's
tomorrow.
over, yep, and it's over. So
Thank
just do
you,
it that way.
Madam Secretary.
You're
Give
welcome,
me-
Madam Master.
Master.
Master, whoa.
Well, he thinks he
That don't
is.
even sound right.
Well, I first called him Madam, so it must be
Is there
something
anything
in the
else?
air.
No, sir.
I haven't had dinner
Make a
either.
motion, we adjourn.
Oh, thank you,
Let's go get
God.
some
I'll
to eat.
second that.
Hangry?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I'll use my gavel.
All opposed?
All opposed? So moved.
Master Long using his gavel.